Greetings and salutations. This is Big J here, and in this video, I got a list of links I want you to check in the description box. So, a couple weeks ago, I've been following the election in South Korea. So, last week, Korea has elected a new leader. New Kim Shahu, I think that's the name. And according to the article by Mail magazine, he's referred to as Korea's Incel president. Now, before I get there, I'm going to back up my point. There's a thing called the MRASIANs. MRASIANs. They are the what you call the Asian Manosphere. The Asian Manosphere is nothing new. That is, if you've been on Reddit, if you've been on TikTok, if you've been on Twitter, if you've been on certain YouTube channels, you have seen these people making a rise in the manosphere places. Now, I did a video entitled MRASIANS, the rise of the Asian Manosphere. Check that out. It's in the description box. And like I said, it's in the description. The other links is in the description box. So no further ado, let me read this article by Eddie Kim from Dispatch of the Manosphere, which is part of Mail magazine. Korea's incel president is far from alone. South Korea's new leader, the conservative Yoon Suk-yeol, used his campaign to draw in young men with repeated rebukes of feminism. It's the endpoint of a Korean misogynistic movement that reflects the same conflicts unfolding in America, Europe, and elsewhere in Asia. South Korea's cohort of extremely online incels, men's rights activists, and anti-feminist influencers are cheering after their biggest win in years. On Wednesday, March 9th, conservative politician Yoon Suk-yeol won the South Korean presidential race, notching a paper-thin win by 0.073 percentage points, a difference of just under 250,000 votes in a nation of some 44 million registered voters. It came after months of campaigning that fixated on the culture war between young men and women, with Yoon swinging for the fences with rhetoric that reframed men as victims of progressive thought and painted Korea's feminist movement as profoundly flawed. Yoon 61, that's not you or you, I can't pronounce it. If I'm mistaken the name, I apologize. Has claimed that structural discrimination based on gender simply doesn't exist in South Korea, despite the nation ranking near the bottom of the developed world when it comes to the gender gap in pay and representation. He has rallied for the abolishment of the Ministry of Gender and Family, claiming it unfairly treats Korean men like potential sex criminals. I don't know why I said criminals for. Despite South Korean women having some of the most alarming disparities in homicide rates and overall victimization. Yoon has also blamed the nation's low birth rate on feminism, going as far as to say it stymies healthy relationships with men. In short, oh wait a minute, this page is kind of jumpy on here. In short, his campaign directly targeted a subset of Korean society known as abnam, slang for 20-something man. And the exit polls demonstrate how successful this playbook was. 58% of female voters in their 20s voted for Democratic Party candidate Lee Jong-man, who has advocated for quotas for female representation in politics and generally is more open to feminism. While 59% of male voters in their 20s voted for Yoon. Now, I'm sorry. Perhaps, continue reading this. Perhaps this isn't surprising given the previous polling that has shown that 70% of young Korean men reject any kind of affirmative action policies for women. They are less accepting of LGBTQ identities, which some experts says is a reflection on how reactionary young men are returning to older patriarchal ideas as a salve to the problems they see in modern society. It is quite a turn from the mid 2010s, from the 2010s, when it appears that America's hashtag Me Too movement and broader consciousness about intersectional feminism was aspiring to similar discourse about how Korean women are under attack. One of the biggest uprisings came after the brutal 2016 murder of a young woman by a stranger who admitted he did it because he hated women for making him feel unseen and humiliated. The target sparked protests in multiple cities, and since then, Korean feminist advocates have continued to agitate, shedding light on household sexism, semen terrorism, and the persuasive targeting of women with hidden cameras and blackmail. The more fringe elements of Korean feminism has also grown in forms like MRASIAN, I can't pronounce the name, and the vaguely alt-right WOMAD, where women freely, can I say it on this channel? I guess not. Not. You know what? Let me skip that part. Hateful slang of anti-feminist men into their bizarre web of memes and in-jokes. In predictable fashion, men are pointing to this as evidence as that feminism is about misandry and nothing more, adding to their own tale of this proposed marginalization in a society that's still dominated and largely run by men. So far, so let me talk about you black Manosphere dudes for a minute. Let me talk about y'all for a minute. I got to segue off about. Now, this to you black Manosphere dudes. y'all see this as, y'all keep talking about the black woman won't let you lead. The black woman won't submit. But she doesn't have no political power. Well, she do got political power. She earned her political power. You relinquish your political power years ago. And many of y'all did it after Obama's election. But we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about that at the end of this article, though. Naturally, pro-Yoon men are now debating the weight of this victory on their preferred forms, namely DC Inside and its more extreme counterpart, IBIB. The rhetoric include conspiracy that suggests Yoon won a landslide victory, lazy GIF insults about feminists, and generally celebration of a new era of gender politics. Same way like how BIGJXXX and Anger Man and some of y'all in the Manosphere did that to Donald Trump. Talk about Donald Trump is going to get these cuts for black women to get black women out, put these women out on the streets with them cuts, right? The fact, if you don't believe in this election fraud, you are a Democratic Party spy. One person on a CD Inside post. And if you really want to capture the feminists, you have to grasp and put out the roots. If you do not want to be harassed by radical feminists and want to stop feminism, raise your voice and go out to the protest sites. Another recent post proclaims. To be clear, there are signs that the narrative about how Koreans support an incel president are overstating the facts. Yoon eked out a slim victory after months of tanking polls, and the Korean writer / analyst TK of As a Korean observed that the race maybe have hinged more on real estate taxation and upper class anxiety more than the culture war over gender equality. There is also the fact that Yoon of the center-left Justice Party, a self-described feminist and the only openly supporter of LGBTQ rights in the race, has also won 800,000 votes, serving as a third-party wedge for more liberal voters. The perception can be more powerful than statistics truth, and it's obvious that Korea's landscape of incels, anti-feminist activists, and misogynistic trolls are empowered by what they see as an affirmation of their arguments. It's a mindset stroked by mainstream political figures. Yoon's wife, for one, mocked the victims of sexual assault while on campaign trail. Elsewhere, the young leader of the People's Power Party, Lee Kun-sek, described as a young Donald Trump for his volatile viewpoints and penitence for blaming feminism as a harmful movement built on myths. Conservative presidential candidate Hoon Ping-kun, Hong Noon-pa, I can't pronounce his name, also caught admitting in a published memoir that he, at the age of 18, had procured a stimulant drug for animals in order to help his friend drug and well, sexually assault a woman, he downplayed the incident by asking, what South Korean man doesn't have a story like that? And we saw with Trump, there is a big potentially much to be gained by Yoon, a political novice, leveraging the culture war as a distraction from corruption, grabs, and political missteps. Anti-feminist rhetoric is the perfect populist cover for his targeting of opposing voices, and it's likely he will continue to wield power of the mass misogyny as a tool to stabilize his popularity in what remains a deeply patriarchal society. This is a landscape in which mere accusation of being a radical feminist can derail a career and make one a target of waves of digital and physical harassment. Consider the popular sites like CheckFilm, a platform that reports to the identity celebrities and influencers who have feminist leanings. One recent target is BTS leader RM, who read a book considered a feminist work. But it's also critical to see that there is nothing truly unique about South Korea's social struggle to understand and accept feminism in good faith. Nearly every liberal democracy around the world, whether it is the United States, European nations, India, other parts of Asia, are being affected by anti-feminist movements and lone wolf violence that aim to silence women. It's not a coincidence that that these nations are also in various ways fracturing under the weight of historical patriarchy, the pressures of late capitalism, and the isolation of modern life. You cannot divorce the rise of South Korean male misogyny from a phenomenon like disorder. The thing called in which young Koreans gleefully blow their paychecks on material goods in an extension rejection of the economy. Nor you can ignore how meaningful discourse about gender relations and equality are inflamed by extreme venues online, which then warp real-world interactions towards a spectrum of trolling and murderous behavior by men. Study after study demonstrates that women are disproportionate targets of this violence, regardless of where they live, and it's why Korea's election of anti-feminist adult into the highest seat in the country is symptomatic on how men around the world are framing their victimizations. That framing fails to prioritize systematic factors such as unemployment and skyrocketing housing costs in favor of a far simpler boogeyman. And that boogeyman has grown as allows male stroke anxiety and their peers claiming that an ultra patriarchal society can save us all. There is a wrong idea of normative. No, scratch that. There is a strong idea of normative masculinity in Korea, intertwined with militarized masculinity from a mandatory service, and by extension, this idea that you are a warrior for the economy as well. You are expected to be a good father. You're definitely not queer because that subverts too much. Joe Easing Han, associate professor of director of Korea Research Center at the University of Western Australia told me last year. So, in a sense, it's easy to understand that young Korean men are so agitated about gender roles. And it's like these expectations hadn't changed, but the world has. It's not made any easier by the consistent it's not made easier by the aggressive tropes in Korean TV dramas and movies. Casually misogyny and violence against women dominated men the need to be a hero. The election of Yoon seems to be an affirmative of some of those tropes, but it also remains unclear how his time as president and any potential mishaps will shift the tide in Korea's battle for harmony between genders during a time of economic instability and the depth of upward mobility. Young people are struggling with the need to fight for something that can speakly better their lives. And for young, angry men in Korea and around the world, the call to shut down feminism is perhaps the clearest draw of all. So this is an article from Male Magazine. But let me say this right now. If you've been listening to my video earlier this year about the MRASIANs and the Asian Manosphere, they've been, if you go to their TikTok, their Reddit, you would know they've been planning and campaigning for someone to run for office and elect them. And they have, and to give them, I don't want to give them credit, but you got to respect the fact from this angle. They took what they said. They didn't do it in 15, 20 years talking about we as Asian men, we got disrespect. No, they went out on the street, excuse me, and they did it. They protest. They got political within less than 5 years. Less than five years. Because they started this thing back in 2016. Actually, there is a video in the description box to tell you, and I even said that in the description box of a video that was made by Al Jazeera. I'll talk about that in the comment section. But anyway, I'm gonna make another video for the other video. I'm gonna talk about it about a similar topic. Like, share, subscribe, and let me say this about this new president of South Korea, who's gonna be inaugurated in 2 months. I'm gonna say it like this: he is going to end up like Trump, and I'm gonna tell you why he's going to end up like Trump. When you vote for a person based on feelings, you're going to fail. A lot of you alt-right manosphere, you talking about Trump. Y'all voted for Trump, not because you want better. No, y'all voted for Trump, and people like this new president of South Korea. Y'all voted for him out of feelings. And one thing though, I'm gonna say is given the issue, the issue was going on with Russia. The incoming president of South Korea just sit there and said something that was so dumb. He said He wants to make. He wants to do an what's it called? A preemptive strike on North Korea. He's advocating in a preemptive strike on North Korea nuclear sites. Knowing the fact, though, that the president, we got the outgoing president of Korea, is actually making inroads with the North Koreans. This is what happened when you vote based on emotions. But y'all always talk about how women are emotional. But anyway, I said enough. Anyway, let me get out of here. See you in the next video.